We will be denying entry to Canada to people who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents.
A stunning announcement from our Prime Minister this afternoon. Canada is closing its borders to almost everyone except Canadian citizens and permanent residents. That is the most drastic step the government has taken so far to contain the spread of COVID-19. And tonight we heard the most stern warning yet to Canadians who are still abroad.
Let me be clear. If you're abroad, it's time for you to come home.
As the government's response to the pandemic changes literally by the hour, it has been a hectic 3 days for travelers returning to Canada.
We were very, very fortunate on our cruise. Some others were not as lucky.
And after being criticized for not setting strict enough rules, the Prime Minister announcing a number of changes this afternoon. Starting Wednesday, the government is closing Canada's borders, only allowing Canadian citizens and permanent residents to enter the country. The exceptions: aircrew, diplomats, immediate family members of citizens, and U.S. citizens. The Prime Minister not explaining his reasoning.
They are exceptional circumstances calling for exceptional measure.
On top of that, the government mandating air carriers to screen passengers with symptoms of COVID-19 so they don't board planes home. Trudeau also says they will only allow international flights to land at 4 Canadian airports: Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and Calgary. That doesn't impact flights from the U.S. and Mexico or apply to trade and commerce.
These measures will help save lives.
The Canadian Border Services Agency also tightening its rules for travelers returning home, adding a symptoms question at entry point touchscreens and asking international arrivals to consider self-isolation for 2 weeks. The move comes after the agency took heat this weekend for apparent disarray at airports. Today, passengers seeing some changes.
They asked us if anybody was sick, they asked us how we were feeling, and then they suggested that we do 2 weeks self-isolation.
She just said to make sure to stay at home with my boyfriend and just not leave the house.
The Prime Minister echoing that reminder to please stay home for at least 14 days if you are just returning to the country. He's also asking all Canadians to stay home as much as possible.